The Deadwood were magnificent as Arsenal defeat Leicester. Football fans, welcome to the February 28th, 2021 edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. I am your host, Shotta, with my usual partner, Blackburn George, the Arseblagger. We not only give credit to the Deadwood, but also to Arteta. Stay tuned for more. Blackburn George, welcome to our really and truly post-game podcast of Leicester against Arsenal earlier today. We won 3-1. I smell a redundancy in terms there. We won 3-1. Or is it a rhyme? And George, the results, in my opinion, were excellent. The result, not the results, were excellent but predictable. Are you in accord with me?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. So we have differences, George, contrary to the conventional wisdom. Go ahead.
I think it was anything but predictable because I couldn't predict it. I wrote a blog this morning and I stated that I had absolutely no idea what would happen. Whether we would win, they would win, it would be a draw, who would play, where they would play, how they would try and play, how we would try and play. I just didn't have a clue. So I would say predictable is about as far away from being what I think it was as possible, because I couldn't predict it at all. When the game set off and they got that early lead, what was predictable was that they tried to sit in thinking that we would be rather toothless like we had been last time we played them and like we have been for most of the season. But we weren't. And that took the game away from them, really. I think they gave us the opportunity to control the game, but other teams have done that and we haven't managed to control the game. But today we did. Mm-hmm. We controlled the game and we made opportunities, and I thought we played really well. And I said earlier on Twitter, for me, I don't like Arteta, we know this. Mm-hmm. However, if he serves that up to us on a regular basis, I'll stop complaining about his management. I still won't like him for himself, but as far as his management goes, I thought he gets as much credit as any of the players. And I thought every player played well. And it was funny that it was our Deadwood that's keeping us afloat.
Which is usually the case of Deadwood, George. Deadwood floats. Yes.
William, Pepe, David Luiz, Xhaka, all outstanding, really.
I object. Don't include Xhaka in the Deadwood category.
No, not as far as I'm concerned. He's anything but Deadwood. But he's in the Deadwood category as far as a lot of the fan base is concerned.
Correct.
As you know very well from just last week when we had the same discussion on Twitter with some people who, no matter how well he plays,
yes,
they're not having him.
You're right.
You know.
I know.
He's absolutely, for me, he was outstanding today, and he's been brilliant every game since he came back from his suspension. And he was good before that. He's basically been good all season, and the season before, and the season before that. So I understand what you're saying. He's not Deadwood as far as I'm concerned, but in the minds of a lot of the fans, he is.
George, he is the steady Eddie. I just tweeted this. He is played almost every game without a rest and without an injury. And he is the one who marshals our midfield, not only as in terms of passing and distribution, but he's the one that's giving instructions to his other midfield players. All three managers he has played under depend on him, but a lot in our fan base think he's Deadwood. Something is wrong, and I don't think it's experienced managers.
I agree, and I just tweeted this not long ago, a few minutes ago, really, that he plays well with Ceballos, El Neni, and Partey.
Correct.
Doesn't matter who he plays with, he plays well. But all of a sudden, we have this notion going around that he's improved because of Partey. Partey's coming, and he's improved him because he's the ideal midfield partner. He's hardly fucking played with him.
Correct.
If anything, Partey benefits from him rather than the other way around. But you're pissing into the wind, really, to try and convince a lot of our fans that he's a good player. And he's not just a good player, he's our most important player.
Well, George, you know my position on this. If we listen to our fan base, we would go down even faster because they'll be chucking out good players because they have this overestimation of players who are really good. And I see it over and over again. This week it was Giroud. Giroud scored 103 goals for us. And, 80 something in the Premier League. He is now second, just 7 goals away from Henry in the French national team. He has a World Cup medal. He kept Lacazette out of the team. He kept that guy who's gone to PSG almost out of the team. But he's a lamppost. Don't you see these people's idea of who is a good player is to say the least. It is faulty. They don't know who is a good player from who is bad. Anyway, Giroud is not our player anymore. But you see my point?
I do see your point. And, we've seen it a lot, that certain players yesterday, people have been raving about Thomas Partey, saying, somebody was saying, Xhaka's our second best central midfield player. And I'm thinking, what have I missed? What am I not seeing? Yes. Where is this brilliant positioning and wonderful passing and creative midfield player? Where is he? We've not seen him yet. I hope we do see him. And I do think he's a good player. I do. But,
what's
is he this world-class star that people are insisting they've seen? I just don't know where they've seen it. Hopefully we do, but as of yet, I've not seen it. And Xhaka has been outstanding, and Partey, quite frankly, hasn't. Maybe it's the injuries out, I don't know, but whatever the reasons,
yes,
he's
not here yet.
Certainly second best to Granit Xhaka. In everything, and leadership qualities, like you said, Xhaka's telling people what to do. I noticed something today that people say, he's a bit safety first, but I watch him, the balls he plays, and he will attempt difficult balls, yes, risky balls, and he'll attempt through balls and down the side and lose possession. But in general play, when he passes to a player, that player has time and space on the ball. He doesn't give hospital passes. Mm-hmm. He gives the right pass at the right time. I just think he's so underrated by our fans and the media and the pundits, etc. The only people who don't underrate him are his managers.
Exactly.
He's played every minute of every game. Not just every minute of every game he plays.
Yes. I'm trying to look up a pass he made that was a pre-assist. I make notes, George, during the game, but I can't find it. But not only that, I recall, remember that thing with him and Albright in the second half, and that was not the first time. He defends very well. He bodies up to the defender. They have to come through him, and the commentators had to say he does this very well. So he's an excellent. When he's on the ball, you have a lot of problems getting it away from him. But it reminds me of something that Mourinho said a few weeks ago. He said, Xhaka is Arsenal's midfield. He is the one who is giving the directions. He's the one who is on the ball, who steadies them. Now, regardless of what your personal opinion of Mourinho, one thing about Mourinho started in football as a scout. He knows a player inside out. Probably setting up a team to attack, he's not very good. But he knows how to scout players. That is where Bobby Robson had him doing. I try to be balanced, George. I don't just throw Mourinho. I have this anti-Mourinho feeling because he was at Chelsea and he's a nasty character. But when it comes to football, he knows more football in his middle finger than in his little finger than I know, and I'm going to give him that credit.
Yeah, but not only Mourinho, his international managers, his Swiss captain, his previous managers, Arsene Wenger, Emery.
Correct.
Freddie.
Yes.
Arteta.
Correct.
First name on the team sheet, plays every week.
George, let's not. We're beating a dead horse. So they said the non-believers will remain there, and it's going to take a lot to convince them, I suppose. But what do you thought about the big conference before the game was a team selection? And my only reservation, let me just get it out there, was that it was a counter-attacking setup. And I was concerned because I didn't think Leicester, with all its injuries, were going to be attacking. And this, by the way, is one of something we all need to bear in mind. Leicester has suffered from some injuries, many injuries to key players. No Maddison, no Jose Perez, no Dennis Pratt, no Fofana. This 17, 18, or 19-year-old fellow from French, excellent footballer. I've seen him start playing this season. These are all injured players, and they really could not maintain any possession during the game. They couldn't control the midfield. But what about Arteta's selection for this game, given all of this?
Well, this is another point I made in my blog this morning, that he had some problems. We'd only just got back from Athens. There were some players that really had to be rested. Xhaka probably one of them. But
they were in the red zone, George. You remember the famous red zone?
Yeah, but Xhaka just seems to be just too important to rest him, no matter how often he's playing. But Bellerin, certainly, Aubameyang, there was a few, Saka, of course, that definitely needed a rest. And I said that it was a difficult task for him because the hindsight managers will tell him that he got it wrong if we don't win.
Yes.
We can all understand how important it is to rest players. We don't want Saka getting injured. We don't want Aubameyang getting injured. We don't want Bellerin getting injured. But if you leave them out and you don't win, all that goes out the window, and he's made a mistake. He should have selected them. So it was a very, very difficult selection choice for him. And I thought it was brave to leave as many out.
Yes.
And whether we'd won or not, I think it was brave. It's a good, brave decision now we've won. But it would still have been a brave decision if we'd lost. And you have to give the credit to him. He got it right. And personally, I think the team looked better with Willian in than we've looked with him out of late. And I know it's only one game and there's people dreading him playing, but I mean, man of the match performance.